If you're a graphic designer and you don't know how to make PowerPoint templates, it's very likely that you're leaving money on the table or you're taking those projects on and delivering a template that doesn't really help your client as well as it could. So in this video, I'm going to give you the exact system that I use for creating PowerPoint templates. It's a method that maximizes the value for your client and therefore maximizes what you can charge for creating PowerPoint templates without all the fiddling around with PowerPoint formatting. Now, as this video goes on, the information is going to get more and more valuable. And for those of you already making PowerPoint templates for your clients, this could be all you need to win more of those projects, create more value, and start charging more for them. All right, to start, who's this going to work with? For example, I've used this exact method to teach marketers and designers how to build PowerPoint templates for their clients. And I've been building templates for market research companies, med tech companies, car companies, and others for over a decade. This can work for designers who are creating a PowerPoint template as a part of a brand identity system. And it's for non-designers too, people who make PowerPoint presentations as a major part of your job who want a PowerPoint template that can help streamline the way your whole team works together. Or if you already have a PowerPoint template for your brand, but you don't like using it, and we can get into all the reasons why you might not like using it, and you want to know how to fix that. This can also work for those who've never used PowerPoint before or who use it rarely, if ever, because I believe that building a template is a great way to deepen your knowledge of PowerPoint and how it really, really works under the hood. Because what are we not about to do? We're not just giving you keyboard shortcuts and menu tips to memorize. We're going to go over only the parts of PowerPoint you really need because there are so many features and things and styles you just really don't need. And we don't want to be limited by Mac or PC or this or that version of PowerPoint. While there are some differences, and I'll primarily be using Office 365 on Windows 10, understanding the concepts is far more important than memorizing menus. Because if things change in a new version, you'd have to start all over again anyway. So we're going to learn how to use this thing smarter to create maximum value for your clients and more money for yourself in return with proven strategies, not like rote memorization. Okay, so let's zoom out and look at the big picture of how this entire system I'm going to show you gets you better templates in less time. I think the best way to imagine how this works is that the way to think about building a template is that it's like building a house. First, we lay down the foundation. Most template designers go wrong right out of the gate here because they start by building out how they think the template should look on the front end, like the layouts, the background images, the logos, the colored boxes and things, instead of thinking through how the template works on the back end. While it is super important to have a brand identity before you start building the template, don't be like these guys who start decorating a house that has a shaky foundation, because their templates are effectively broken and they make designing slides in the template harder, actually, especially for their clients who typically aren't designers. The truth is, PowerPoint is kind of broken. It has some weirdness baked into it, like in the code itself. And if you don't know what those things are and the best practices to avoid them, this is where it can all go wrong. And you end up with a template that's kind of like a buggy piece of software that does weird random things at weird random times when you try to format slides. When really, if you stick to what I'm going to show you, it's so easy to build templates that just work for any client, for any brand, for any design, every single time. And the coolest part is every single template, no matter what it looks like or who it's for, should have the exact same foundation. So once you learn how to build it, you can start knocking them out in minutes. So the second step is we frame and build the entire structure for our clients' needs. Back to our house metaphor. Some clients need 1 bedroom, some need 2, some need 3 or 4. Everyone needs a bathroom, but some need bigger bathrooms or more of them. Some need a garage, some don't need one at all. Do you see what I'm saying? If you go to any site where you can download PowerPoint templates, I'll show you a bunch of templates with tons of bells and whistles, and at best, like 1 or 2 slides my clients could actually use. The rest are like, what, like I don't need a slide that has 6 headshots and social links on it, like ever. So rather than guessing and designing a bunch of random layouts or layouts that you personally like or maybe would find useful, sorry introverts, I'm one too, but we're gonna have to actually like talk to people. Basically have conversations with your clients and their employees about how they use PowerPoint day to day. Talk to in-house designers and non-designers like consultants, researchers, analysts, salespeople, marketers, product managers, and others who might use the template to create all kinds of slides for all kinds of situations you might not have thought of. They'll surprise you. Basically, we want to find out how they use PowerPoint, what kinds of slides they make for what kinds of purposes, so that our template has the layouts, design elements, and instructions your client needs most, and none of the ones they don't. And then we can get into decoration. This is our 3rd step. Decorate their dream house. And keeping with our house metaphor, now you can pick out paint swatches and hardware flooring and like do the landscaping. But I see a lot of template designers go really wrong here because they haven't done step 2. There are tons of templates that are filled with like visual fluff, swooshes, useless placeholders, and other image junk, which, like Edward Tifta's chart junk, is what I call random stuff on a slide that conveys little to no information and actually gets in the way of clear understanding. I've seen templates built by huge agencies for Fortune 100 companies where people like executives who already have so little time still have to spend hours customizing and reformatting slides, fighting with images that are like locked in the background. And they end up choosing weird random colors from the color picker because the color palette that was designed for them just doesn't have what they need. To put it simply, ease of use equals brand consistency. A template that's hard for a non-designer to use is inviting them to make all kinds of weird design decisions and is going to make it really hard to keep a consistent look and feel across the brand, leading to slides that look cheap, amateurish, and unimpressive. Nobody wants that. So how do you do this? Let me introduce you to the strategic PowerPoint template. I'm going to give you the blueprint, and it's so simple. You just follow the steps. 1, create the theme. 2, design the slide master. 3, build layouts. 4, create elements. 5, add instructions. 6, hand it off to your client. The goal of this first step is simple. Program the brand identity into PowerPoint. There are 4 things you need to do here. 1, slide size. 2, fonts. 3, color palette. 4, contextual color. Now, I know I just told you to decorate the house last, but this is one of those weird PowerPoint things I was telling you about earlier. This first step isn't about designing the way the template looks yet per se. Going back to our house metaphor, it's more like staging all the stuff you're going to need to paint and landscape and all that later at the job site now, so they're at your fingertips when you need them. Back to reasons why PowerPoint is kind of broken. You won't have to waste time changing fonts and colors slide by slide if something gets overlooked on a later step. Let's talk about brand identities for a second though, specifically when it comes to color. The thing about brand identities is that a great color palette from a brand identity designer's perspective can sometimes be an insufficient color palette from a PowerPoint designer's perspective. For example, in business communication, contextual colors are necessary. They're what we use to signal what some piece of information means, like in context. They're critical for visualizing data in charts, graphs, and dashboards, and I work with a lot of brands that don't have them in their color palette like at all. Others use fonts that won't look consistent across screens in the environments that the client is going to be making and sharing slides in. So whether that's Mac, PC, or both, they make slides strictly in-house, or if they're sharing them externally, it has to just work. And the right way to go might be a system font, or it might be some other typeface, and it'll be different for every client. So to tie that back to what I said earlier, our clients aren't designers, and we have to talk to them to understand how they're going to be making the slides. They're the ones applying the brand system day to day, and it's our job to set them up to be able to do good work. And that brings us to the next part, design the slide master. The goal here is to create brand consistency while maximizing the usable area of the slide. This phase is simple. You only have to design one slide, but it's so deceptively easy to mess it up. If you get it right, though, it sets the whole template up for success in step 3. We'll need to create margins, build a grid, design graphics and images, format the footer, secondary footer, and slide number, format the title and text, test it out. One of the first things I notice about a template is the way the margins are set. Usually they're either far too wide, which eats into the usable space on the slide, or even worse, they aren't set at all. Non-designers don't really know what margins are and will absolutely jam walls of text like right up to the edge of the slide if they aren't given good guardrails. So let's give them to them. If you are a designer though, you know what margins are and you know what the grid is. And while PowerPoint doesn't natively have a grid per se, I'll show you how you can make one. The grid is absolutely critical for designing slides, and it's especially critical for making templates. And if you don't use one, I know, I can tell. I can tell just by looking at your slides. This is all going to help us delineate the usable area of the slide where our users will design stuff. So as we place the logo, graphics, the images, and other design elements that brand and style the template, and as we set up the text placeholders, the slide numbers, the copyright, and confidentiality statements down in the footer, we're also going to maximize this area. It's funny that the most important part of the slide is blank space. That's so we can use as much of the screen as possible for information density. And then we can build layouts. The goal in this step is to understand how the client will use the template and create layouts that will help format the default layouts following the 5 rules. Add the 8 power layouts, conduct a slide audit, sketch slides, create custom layouts, test it out. So every PowerPoint template starts with 11 default layouts, and where a lot of template designers go really wrong is to start messing with them right away. There's more to this, but one of the fastest ways to break your template is to copy, over-design, or worse, delete default layouts. What we'll do instead is lightly format them and then create what I call the 8 power layouts, the simple slide layouts I use in slide design over and over again that should be default but aren't. And while it shows up in this step, as soon as you win the project, start the slide audit. Basically, talk to your client and their employees and look at their past decks to see what kinds of slides are really, really needed by them. What's worked for them in the past and what hasn't? What don't they have now that they wish they had? Do this as early as you can because 1, it will take a while for everyone to get on your calendar to have a one-on-one chat with you. And 2, because you'll need some time to distill your notes down, from these chats into findings that make sense. And 3, because what comes out of these conversations can have an impact on all phases of this project, including the ones we've already talked about, not just layout design. Now, the first step to a successful slide audit is ahead of time thinking through the questions you should ask so you're making the most of the few minutes that you're going to have to be able to chat with your busy client. Basically, write yourself a discussion guide. This is going to help guide you through the conversation. Now, I've written discussion guides and interviewed thousands of respondents across the country as a consumer insights researcher and moderator, and I approach interviewing my clients the same way to get the most depth out of our conversations. If you want a shortcut, hit the link below for a copy of my discussion guide with the exact questions I ask in a slide audit that you can use to chat with your client. Next, we need to 4, create elements. The goal here is to further reduce the design decisions clients have to make. Basically, pre-design stuff so they don't have to. I like to think of this part as creating Lego pieces that clients can use to mix and match to build what they need when designing slides. There's some things you can't really design with placeholders on the back end in a useful way, so you'll need to create things that will need to be modified depending on the content, like tables, charts, and diagrams on the front end as example slides and mockups. Default shapes and lines, create tables, create charts and chart templates, create example slides, test it out. Then we add instructions. The goal here is to make the template work as a standalone product. We'll make it really obvious how every part of the template works, even to novice users. It should be clear to anyone who picks it up, from your clients to new employees to contractors, how to use the template, because you'll organize slides and add dividers, add placeholder instructions, create instruction slides, add sidebar instructions. And finally, 6, hand it off to your client. The goal is to deliver the template files and your knowledge of how it works in a neat package. Your client will need to know which files to distribute to the team and which to preserve as the master template that people can't overwrite by accident. And to reinforce all of that, offer them some group training on how to use their new template for 3 key reasons. 1, so they don't break it. A lot of people have been using PowerPoint for decades and still don't fully understand how it works. So they have weird workarounds and things they do to just make things work well enough to do their jobs. For example, people who don't know how to turn off footers, they will delete them or cover them with a white box. Well, if they do that weird stuff to your template that makes it not work, you're in trouble. Because the other reason to walk them through it is, 2, so they clearly understand the value you've packed into this template. And the third reason is to give your client and everyone on their team an opportunity to have a Q&A with you, where you can address their specific questions and hear more pain points that might inspire more value you can add to the template if you've offered them support or updates. Share the POTX file. Use the PPTX file only to make global changes. Share brand assets. Walk the client through usage and instructions. Have a team-wide walkthrough session and Q&A. It's just another way to maximize the value for your client and therefore maximize what you can charge for creating templates by adding strategy and service in a way that most template designers don't. Because it starts with thinking through the theme like a consultant and a designer. In fact, if you want to see exactly how to build a theme for any client, those who have a brand identity and even those who don't, watch this video next and you're going to discover the exact steps I use to do it.